Welcome into the Big East Fall Sports Update. I'm Megan Caffrey, joined alongside John Fanta. There's a lot of soccer to get into for today's show. It was opening weekend of conference play for men's soccer. John, you were on the call for the St. John's Seton Hall men's game. What stood out to you the most in that match?
Well, one of 3 one-goal matches. What stood out to me, though, was Matt Forrester starting off Big East men's soccer play right where he left off in non-conference play. He had 3 goals early on and now a career-high 4 goals on the season, and then St. John's just ended up wearing down a Seton Hall team that looked a lot better with a new coach and Andreas Slimberg, but it was the Red Storms' night. For the 4th straight year, they won 1-0 over the Hall.
John and I will talk more about that match, and also a little bit later, I spoke down with Xavier's goalkeeper, Zachary Nelson. We'll have that for you later. But first, let's get into our top 5 plays.
Let's do it. Very exciting weekend of soccer. And number 5, the Italian goalkeeper for Seton Hall, Andreas Nota, says no. What a denial in net. A big one for the Pirates.
Checking in at number 4, women's soccer now. It's redshirt sophomore forward Johnny Kajan. Let's take one more look there.
Well done.
It was her 7th goal of the season. St. John's downs Delaware 3-2.
Number 3, the statement win of the weekend in the Big East Men's Soccer Championship game rematch. Tomek Power in the 86th minute. That one finds its way into the back of the cage, and Xavier rallies and shocks Georgetown in D.C.
At number 2, Liberty Field Hockey. They're taking on number 7, Virginia. And it's the freshman forward, Olivia Klopp. Hashtag SC Top 10 right there.
And at number 1, DePaul had never beaten Providence in men's soccer. Until now, Istvan Wilhelms, the hero, and the Blue Demons are 1-0 in Big East play. New coach Mark Plotkin has this team as a dark horse. Wilhelms fitting it past the keeper for the DePaul game winner. What a victory for the Blue Demons in Chicago.
And John, what a weekend for Big East men's soccer conference play. They started off, all 5 matches were on the Big East Digital Network. If you were tuning in, I surely had my phone out this weekend to take a peek at those.
It was exciting, and you want to download the Fox Sports app and have that tuned in, because men's soccer matches, they bring a thrill. And we saw 3 one-goal affairs. We talked about that Seton Hall St. John's one, but a couple of statement makers as well that jump off the page.
DePaul, let's look at DePaul first. DePaul came in, they were 3-3 coming into Friday's game, taking on Providence. And you said it right there, it was a really, really exciting game. They went into double overtime. What a way to start out conference play with a double overtime win for DePaul.
And how about the Blue Demons? They have been the dark horse team in this league because they've gotten a couple of non-conference quality results. And you were wondering, what are we going to get out of DePaul in conference play? Well, this is how you start off league play. And how about Istvan Wilhelms, a star in this conference, stepping up twice for both those DePaul goals. And here were the Blue Demons after the win.
For the guys, I thought we had a great first half. Scoring early felt great and just kind of setting the tone for the rest of the game. I thought we kind of dropped off a little bit and we're kind of trying to hold on to the lead a little bit too much, and that's when Providence started to take some of the flow of the game. But they're an awesome team, and for our guys to come back and put one away in overtime, I couldn't be more excited for them.
John, one of the games this weekend that wasn't just a one-goal game was the Xavier-Georgetown game. Xavier came from behind to beat Georgetown 3-2 in the 86th minute. This one went all the way down to the wire.
It did, and the Musketeers fell behind, which says a lot about them, that they could put up 3 goals in the second half to remain unbeaten. Think about that, folks. Xavier has still not lost, and now receiving votes in the top 25 poll. This team, very versatile. Cameron Bell, Jacob Goodall, Tomek Power. They can beat you in different ways. And the Musketeers, they were thrilled after the win.
Well, we hadn't scored, we had scored in 2 of our 5 games so far, but we had created opportunities. And the irony is when that's happening, you rely on restarts, and that's where it came from. But that was the first half. We didn't win or tie all year. One of our goals every game is to win or tie the halves. And to get, play, probably have a good, bad first half and get there with a minute left and allow a penalty kick. That was hard, but I told the guys somewhere along the way we're going to have to come from behind, and there was no choice but to do that today, and the guys did it.
John, St. John's Seton Hall, we mentioned it before, you were on the call for this game. in the 10th minute, the only goal of the game.
Great long ball played in from Brandon Knapp and Matt Forster, who charged St. John's throughout last season. He delivered. And credit to Seton Hall's keeper, the Italian Andreas Nota, for keeping this game at 1-0. But the Red Storm just too much, and St. John's getting the victory. But I'll tell you what, Megan, the Creighton Blue Jays are for real. They are ranked number 12 in the country this afternoon because of this result over Butler.
A 3-0 win over Butler. John, how about that right there? This just says so much about the Blue Jays to come out with conference play, to start off with such a commanding win at that.
It was dominant for them, and one that gets your eyebrows raised because for Creighton, they still have not allowed a goal at home this season. That is a statement maker, and Elmar Bolowich was more than pleased with the result.
Running that was missing in the first half, and actually Butler did a very good job of that, breaking our line constantly, playing behind us and looking dangerous. And I felt like we could do some of that ourselves, and the guys really put it to work. Sven did a good job, and Haagensen did a good job. And putting Joel back next to Kuba in our defensive midfield, that solidified us defensively, so we looked stronger in our build-up.
John, Marquette came into their game against Villanova having lost their last 3 games, and then they took down the 13th ranked Wildcats 3-0.
Connor Alba's been automatic for the Golden Eagles, a goal and an assist in this win. And Villanova came in, folks, again, number 13 in America. Marquette made a statement. The Golden Eagles had lost 3 in a row before this game, but it just goes to show you, when conference play starts, throw everything out. And if you're Louis Bennett and company, this is the type of win that can go a long way.
I think it's a lot sweeter because we did shut them out and we did keep a clean sheet, things that we've been looking to do. And after turning our last result right back on its head, it's pretty satisfying. Villanova are a really resilient, well-coached, well-organized team, and I thought it was going to be a tough.
What a weekend for Big East men's soccer, John.
I already can't wait for week 2 because this conference is looking like one that could get 4, maybe even 5 teams to the NCAA tournament. It's having one of its best years since reconfiguration.
Big East women's volleyball also had a successful season as well this past weekend. Both Marquette and Creighton went 2-1, falling to their top 10 opponents. And then Georgetown, John. Georgetown sweeped the weekend. The Hoyas beat Morgan State, Alabama A&M, and Loyola Maryland this weekend.
Hoyas getting guided by Simone Speech. The senior middle blocker was exceptional. She's the Big East Offensive Player of the Week, so that's good news for the Hoyas. And then, I'll tell you what, Death Taxes and Creighton volleyball, the Jays just keep on rolling. There's nothing stopping them. And Brittany Witt, the junior, she was excellent, as was Taryn Cloth. Creighton is just loaded with talent, and it has showed throughout. And now conference play starting up this weekend with Xavier and St. John's on the Big East Digital Network Friday night.
John, we talked about this a little bit last week of just how exciting and how much we're looking forward to watching conference play for Big East women's volleyball really start to get underway.
Creighton and Marquette on Sunday. And get this, folks, we don't like to give you a ton of numbers here, but this is a stat worth bringing up. Creighton and Marquette will be the first Big East volleyball top 25 showdown since 2006. It's been 12 years since the conference has had one of those. That comes on Sunday between the Blue Jays and Golden Eagles. It's one that the NCAA volleyball world will be watching.
I will be watching as well if I can. I'll take a little break from football. Let's take a look back on the pitch. I spoke with Xavier, our Big East Goalkeeper of the Week, Xavier Zachary Nelson, and we talked a little bit about how he's doing so far this season, and I learned a little bit more about what he wants to do after he graduates, which was fun too. Welcome into the Fall Sports Update. Big East Goalkeeper of the Week, Xavier redshirt sophomore, Zachary Nelson. Zach, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Zach, you had a career high of 7 saves in your win over Georgetown to finish out a 13-save week. How have you been able to have so much success in net this year?
Well, a lot of it's just the whole team in general has been great on the defensive side, and they've put a lot of confidence in me. And it's kind of great just to have those guys in front of me and know that they're going to do their job. So as long as I do mine, we'll be all right.
What is that relationship like between you and the back line?
Oh, we're very close this year. So we spend a lot of time off the field together. And it's actually the whole team in general. This is one of the tightest teams I think I've ever been on, where we're always together.
What are some of the things that you and your teammates like to do off the field?
We tend to eat a lot, which is kind of a funny joke between us, because whenever we travel, we seem to always be eating every like 2-3 hours. And other than that, we're all playing like video games together. We're studying together. We're always just kind of trying to find a way to be with each other.
Zach, you and your teammates are off to a 6-match unbeaten streak. That's the longest in the program since 2012. What do you credit this early success to?
Really, I think it's just the team chemistry. We all bought in during the spring, going down to Georgetown and losing the way we did and ending our season the way we did. We all bought in that we wanted to do something great this year. So really is that work ethic and sticking together, sticking with the plan, and knowing that we have something great to accomplish this year.
How is your team setting up success for you throughout the rest of conference play?
Really, we're just trying to focus on how we're going to play throughout the year, that we don't want to beat ourselves. We did that a couple times last year, and that really, I think, contributed to ending our season the way it happened. So really, we're just trying to focus on ourselves and a little bit on the other teams as well, but we know if we do our game plan the way we want to do it, that we'll come away with the result we want.
Zach, before we started this, you told me that you're majoring in criminal justice and you're looking to go into becoming a homicide detective after school. What made you want to go into that?
I mean, watching my family when I was growing up, they really kind of taught me that helping others is really important. So I just really want to do something with my life where I can contribute and help back, give back to others.
Who's your favorite TV detective?
Honestly, I like watching Dexter the most. So it's kind of not the kind of career path guy to watch, but it was the most interesting to me.
Zach, next up, your team faces St. John's at home. How much do you enjoy playing in front of a home crowd?
Oh, it's great. Our home fans are awesome. They're always really loud. I think one year they broke the fence, so we actually have to kind of hold them back from that, which is awesome that we get that many people out here, but they're always great. They help us out a lot.
Zach, thank you so much for your time. Good luck this weekend and the rest of the season.
Thank you. Have a good one.
John, there's nothing like some rowdy soccer fans. Zach telling me there that some of the fans were climbing the fences. I thought that was great. You really get in to support your team.
Zachary Nelson and the Xavier Musketeers, they are for real. Still without a loss on the year, and this is what it takes. When you have a veteran keeper, he can be the glue guy of sorts. They're a very difficult team to score on, and Andy Fleming was saying it this past weekend that they've had trouble scoring late in games. Well, to get 3 goals at Georgetown, I think that does away with the trouble. So good for the Musketeers men. And in women's soccer, Megan, the Xavier women have been on quite the winning streak.
Oh, yes, they have. The Xavier women's soccer team, John, is riding their longest win streak since 2003 as they start up conference play. The Musketeers had a 2-0 shutout win over Miami of Ohio Sunday. That marked their 5th win in a row.
Nate Lee has done a really good job with the Xavier women's program. And conference play revving up Saturday on the Fox Sports app. Tune into the Big East Digital Network starting at 1 Eastern time. Xavier and Providence are the 2 dark horses in my book. Georgetown, once again, in the top 10 for the 3rd straight week. They've set the standard in this league. And then I've got my eye on Marquette. Marquette hosting Butler this weekend. 2 teams that have had good results in non-conference play, so I'm intrigued to see what happens between Marquette and Butler. That's my matchup to watch this weekend.
I'm also looking at DePaul and Seton Hall for this weekend's matchup. Last year, the meeting between the Blue Demons and the Pirates finished in a 1-1 double overtime draw, so you could kind of expect some of that same anticipation into this weekend's meeting as well.
Should be exciting to see what happens on this schedule. There it is. And again, tune in to the Big East Digital Network. All 5 of these games are going to be on there, folks. So we've got Dave Nolan and Ian Stone, the 2 longtime coaches in Georgetown St. John's. That's in Queens on Sunday afternoon. And then wrap your weekend up with Butler Marquette and Xavier Creighton. It's a full slate and an exciting one in Big East women's soccer.
and all of those matches will be on the Big East Digital Network. John and I will be on the call for a doubleheader at Seton Hall, which we're looking forward to getting out there as well.
That's right, Seton Hall, DePaul, and women's soccer, and then in the nightcap, the Marquette team that just got a top 15 win over Villanova, taking on the new look Seton Hall men.
We talked about it last week a little bit, John, of just how much the non-conference schedules that the Big East teams are playing have prepared them to come into conference play and now have really competitive games.
Well, that's what the league stresses to the coaches in the offseason is you've got to prepare yourself. And I think that has followed suit in both men's and women's soccer.
We look forward to being on the call this weekend for our games. Thank you so much for tuning in with John and I this week for the Fall Sports Update. We'll see you next week.